Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4, the New Order of Germany. Let's continue on for last left off. So, we're almost ready to get our way into January 2nd. Insufficient resources. How do I can just import stuff, right? We're okay, we're missing 2 consumer goods. I guess we can, how do you actually trade stuff? It says it's automatically doing it, so I'm just not going to worry about it too much. Let's just get into things here, okay? And look at that, we've reached the 2nd, we're about to reach the 3rd. We're blowing through this. The Brown Eminence. If one were to gaze upon the drab visage of the balding little man, it would be hard to view as anything more than a stuffy bureaucrat, one single cog in the grand mechanism of the state. Such miscalculation could be potentially fatal mistake. Chief of the party, Chancellery, and Private Secretary of the Fuhrer, Martin Bormann has climbed the greasy rungs of the NSDAP in silent persistence, asking for neither fame nor excess on any step of his rise to authority. His friends and foes alike refer to him mockingly as the Brown Eminence. Such a scatological slur means nothing to Bormann, who cares little for humor and less for personal insults directly towards his character. He's not a man of pomp or ceremony, but of duty and dedication to the Reich. Many would claim he is rarely seen stepping out of the Führer's gradual diminishing shadow, except those who whisper of his visits to beautiful young actresses and models throughout the nation. As the new decade rolls on, Martin Bormann continues to stalk the showery corridors of power in his ill-fitting suit, further enveloping himself in the mechanism of the Reich's bureaucrat's apparatus. The bizarre contradiction of such a despised man holding such enormous influence betrays a mind dedicated solely to pursuit of power, whatever the cost may be. I don't even know if I understand the insult, to be quite honest with you. I don't get what the insult even is supposed to be. Like, that's what's kind of throwing me for a loop, is I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Okay, we do got free production units, which I believe you got to go into economy. We'll press the help button just to get rid of this. And then we've got to go to macro. Or is it in production? Okay. So we actually have a lot more production units we can use. I guess we go like show times 10. I guess we'll like go to you and then I'll throw another 10 on this. And that seems good. Yeah, that's working. And the Führer is a paternalistic leader of the German Reich, that Hermann Göring is a popular uncle. Beloved by the civilians for his jolly demeanor and the Wehrmacht for promoting their interests throughout the decades, the Reichsmarschall has always desired to maintain the reputation of a diligent military man, loyal to his Reich and the Führer. To believe such a thing would be to downplay the man's ambitions, having held many illustrious posts, from founder and chief of the Gestapo to the Reich penitentiary of the Four-Year Plan. The aristocratic Göring has developed a lust for power and wealth few could rival. Residing in his enormous Carnival mansion in his vast collections of outfits, jewelry, and artwork, all of which was plundered from the Reich's conquest. The Reichsmarschall continues to coalesce as much influence around him as possible. While not as close to Hitler as he once was, he has acquired relevance by becoming the de facto figurehead of the militarist movements. Some would argue that Göring is little more than a pompous buffoon, allowing himself to be puppeted by radical forces in the hopes of acquiring even more attention and power. Others would find such a suggestion to be foolish, for Göring has long proven himself as the manipulating cunning that he is dedicated. His role in the future of the Reich politics remains to be seen. Again, I think it's Göring, Heidrich, Speer, and who's the last one? There's 4. When the Civil War breaks out, there are 4 contenders: Speer, Göring, Heidrich, and Bormann. That's who I'm thinking of. Okay, we have free civilian factories. Let's utilize you. We're just gonna build more hospitals. Build them in just kind of, separate chunks of the country. A figure often overlooked in the convoluted politics of the Reich, Albert Speer is nonetheless one of its key players. Architect by profession and personal friend of Hitler from the beginning of the rise of power, Speer was attracted to the future Führer's persuasive dialect and his great plans for Germany. The attraction is mutual. As soon as Hitler looked at Speer's work, the young architect found himself launched at the forefront of the party's leadership, and tasked with designing dozens of public buildings. The war changed everything. Speer was appointed to the Ministry of Armaments and War Production during the most difficult time of the conflict, and it was there that a side of his personality made itself even more evident: opportunism. He took the merit for Germany's production surge, but his main contribution to the war effort had been the invention of what would forever change the Reich: slavery. 100,000 furious war prisoners toiled and died in the military-industrial complexes, fueling a German war machine with their lives. After the war, Speer turned to his passion and single-handedly designed the culminant of the Reich's grandeur: Germania, the new Caput Mundi, was set to overshadow Rome, Paris, and all of the great cities around the world. But then the economy crashed, taking his dreams with it. In a moment of catharsis, he understood that slavery had been among the main reasons for the collapse, and in the most opportunistic of moves, he started speaking against it, asking for reform. As an unwanted consequence, he soon found himself in a focal point of a large reform movement, advocating for change. Swept by currents stronger than him, he decided to follow them, desperately hoping that no one would ever discover his mistakes. For good or for ill, Albert Speer has, in his own way, reshaped Germany, forever changing both its architectural fashion and society. He is, and forever will be, the Reich's architect. I think the funniest part about, it's not funny, haha, like funny, interesting, is that Speer is considered like the left-wing candidate within German politics, and he's just like bog standard fascist. That's what you get. That's the progressive movement, is just fascism. Adler is launched. In a port city of Wilhelmshaven, houses on some of the largest and oldest shipbuilding facilities in the entire world. Its awe-inspiring docks are capable of building nearly anything. Everything from corvettes and minesweepers to gigantic battleships have left these docks. Even when the idea of a German nation was still a new concept, Karl Donitz knows the production capabilities of these facilities. As Oberbefehlshaber der Marine, he was seen dozens upon dozens of ships launched over the years. This moment, which will go down in history. Today, the largest and most powerful aircraft character, the Kriegsmarine, christened Adler by Hitler himself, is finally ready for its maiden voyage. A spectacle that will be broadcasted all over the Reich. Admiral Donitz knows what remains unspoken. The Adler is not the latest capital ship, but the last for the foreseeable future, as the Reich cannot afford to build any new ships as per the 1958 budget. Funding has been slashed in nearly all sectors. Ship maintenance and payrolls are all that the Kriegsmarine will be bankrolling for now. The ceremony was lovely. The Führer himself thanked the Admiral profusely for this tireless dedication and work, with vague promises spoken about more funding for the Kriegsmarine soon. Something he has been doing since 1958. Donitz ceremonially nodded when he needed to and offered thanks when appropriate, as he had done dozens of times before. Ever the model military man, he greeted the rest of the Führer's entourage. He shook hands with Martin Bormann first, an upstanding gentleman. Next, Albert Speer, an opportunistic Nazi, no more, no less. And if Speer was opportunistic, then Donitz wondered what Göring would be considered. The man was looking surprisingly spry as usual, and last but not least, Heidrich's cold, clammy hand, the blonde butcher, and a bastard to boot. The Admiral glanced back over to the Führer, who was blabbering to his aide. He was getting old, and old age was not treating him kindly. God help the Reich when once Hitler died. Donitz pushed the thought out of his head. He was a Navy man first and foremost. Let the politics be to those four schemers. He will spend $1.2 billion. Excellent! That's the money I had. I had that cash. Okay, we have doctrines available. Apparently we've already done maneuvers, so let's just take you next. That's fine. And we do have more dockyards. Let's go for... let's build some more Adler-class battle or aircraft carriers. I think that seems basically fine. And the Reich's last conquest. On the 19th of January 1962, Albert Kohler used a rocket based on the A9-A10 design from World War II, and as a member of the team led by acclaimed scientist Wernher von Braun, became the first man to ever land on the moon. While the space race has been a struggle between the Reich, Japan, and the United States, and while the Americans had managed to put the first man in space, the Führer was proud to announce that the German landing firmly plants the Reich as a victor in the competition, and that Kohler, who was photographed giving the characteristic Nazi salute at the flag as the Earth rose in the horizon, was a perfect example of a hero of Germany. The grand ceremony was planned in Germania to present Kohler and his fellow aristocrats with the Iron Cross, and a week of celebration was declared across the Reich. While tours of congratulations have been sent from America and Japan, President Nixon has vowed the United States would be the first to create a permanent mission on the moon, and Japan shortly thereafter announced that it would be the first to land on Mars. Okay, we've got one not shady national focus. Research speed, political power gain, I'll take it. I'm not going to say no. And the Blonde Beast. Formerly the protector of Bohemian Bavaria, director of the SD, and one of the principal architects of the Endlöschung. The very name Reinhard Heydrich is uttered by fear of German citizens and Slavic slaves alike. The man of infamously intellectual and cultural sensibilities, the Reichsführer of the German SS hides his insatiable animalistic hunger for power behind a cold sheen of quiet reservation. While his meteoric rise in influence and status throughout the 1930s and 1940s surprised nobody, few could predict his ascension to leadership of the Schlutstaffen would come as a result of Heinrich Himmler's failed coup in the 1950s. Despite its many fractures, the party is united behind its hatred of Heydrich and the fear of the SS. Many believe it is only Hitler's respect for the man with the iron heart that enables him to maintain such a position of brutal authority, although others would point to different sources. Heinrich Himmler, tyrannical despot of the mysterious Ostrat-Burgenland, is theorized by many to be the true power behind the throne. While Heidrich and Himmler have their disagreements, both men advocate for their term of true National Socialism, by which they mean the end of the corruption of the party and the imposition of the totalitarian state dedicated to the values of the SS. The attempts by Hitler's inner circle to reduce the influence of the SS has not been entirely unsuccessful, but as long as Reinhard Heydrich remains to be his leader, it will not dissipate so easily. Yeah, I'm sure they have our best interest in mind, right? I'm sure nothing bad would ever happen. Okay. Convene the Reichstag. The enemy of my enemy. Yeah, let's do. We'll approach the United States of America and attempt to lure them into warming a relation between us and the problems of a joint global effort to contain Japan. Yeah, I think that seems fine. So you've got either the Bormann proposal or the Speer proposal. Easy embargoes, red telephone, almighty dollar, recognize specific claims, spy exchanges, sphere of influences, a stranger in a strange lands. The United... So I guess you're more way anti-Japanese. Again, let's be as hostile towards Japan as possible. Let's go with the Bormann proposal. Assassin strikes the Führer. On January 25th, 1962, as the Reich still celebrated their victory in the space race, many have frozen in shock as an individual of Japanese origin entered the Führer's office and attempted to assassinate Hitler. Armed with a handgun, the assassin, suspected to be a member of the Japanese Tuko Yusakan, would have killed Hitler if one of his bodyguards had not happened to enter the Führer's office off schedule. Hitler was shot once before the agent was killed, and the Führer was briefly hospitalized before being declared stable. While he survived, news briefly leaked that he had been killed in the attempt, and the Reichstag entered crisis without a leader. Members of the German RSD briefly locked down the city, armored cars filled the streets, and roadblocks ended all traffic for the day. The situation nearly turned to disaster when separate orders were given to both forces of the Wehrmacht and units belonging to the RHSA to occupy the city and ensure peace. When both groups, as well as the RSD, ordered the others to stand down, a 36-hour standoff occurred that nearly turned into an open war in the streets, Hitler not recovered and given his personal order for all military units to return to their barracks. Blood was shed regardless, as several officials belonging to various factions were assassinated in the chaos, victims of plans sprung too soon. Heinrich Himmler has announced the chaos, claiming that the strike would have been prevented had the Reich not fallen into decadence, in order to SS units across Burgundy to prepare to ensure peace in Germany. Supposedly only if Hitler requested their assistance. The German SS, while supposedly independent from Hitler, have begun voicing their support for his involvement. The incident has shown a dire need for the state to have for an heir to the Nazi Empire, but the Reichstag sits frozen, unable to decide. Not only has it been brought to light, however, but relations with Japan are now at an all-time low, and although Japan has denied spending the assassin, Wehrmacht leaders have been ordered to be readying for the worst. Okay, so political power minus 100. We are now have absolutely terrible relation with the Japanese. So I want the Cold War. And then from the Cold War screen, I've got to click Cold War interface. So I am second, which, you know, fair. Again, why am I second? It's because the United States is like a giant economy, right? They actually have a massive military as well. Yeah, but tensions between us and the Japanese are looking pretty high at the moment. I mean, yeah, like Japan's actually richer than we are. That's a shame. Hitler addresses the nation. Today, the world watches as one of the most significant moments of the 20th century to take place. Almost a week after the Führer was shot in an attempted assassination, believed to have been orchestrated by Japan, Hitler today appeared on national television, with the necessity for an appointed successor being exposed by the incident. Following days of heated debate, Hitler stood before the Reichstag to announce his choice. Four candidates have been speculated for days. Bormann, expert politician and head of the party, is a staunch conservative and believed the most likely candidate. Also believed highly possible is the militarist Hermann Göring, and the beloved uncle of the nation if Hitler is the father. Another name put forward is Albert Speer, one of the Führer's closest friends, who advocated for extensive reform within the Reich. Finally, some of you suggested that naming Reinhard Heydrich as successor would allow for the hostility between Germany and the SS to finally come to an end. After a lengthy, sometimes incoherent speech, during which the Führer spoke repeatedly about the strength of Germany, at times seeming to lose his train of thought, the Führer lifted a trembling hand, declared the chosen successor would be... Well, we're probably going to go Bormann. Because we're going to be doing a Bormann proposal anyway, so it makes sense that if we're going to be doing this and then going to the Bormann proposal, that we would probably appoint Bormann to be the successor of the party. So let's go Blue Water Navy because, you know, we're not little babies. Let's send a spy absolutely to Tokyo to begin with. I mean, you sent an assassin after me. I'm going to send a spy into you. And we should now have unlocked the power struggle. Hitler's currently in good health. Bormann is currently moderate. Everybody's moderate. Speer has minimal influence. And more decision will be available as Hitler's condition worsens. Okay. Divert infantry equipment. Sure. We'll take that. That seems okay. Oh, my whole other tree is gone. Really? They just take it away immediately? Okay. Unless, do you go back to the original tree? I don't know. I guess we'll present the alternative. I wanted to do stuff with the United States. But apparently not. We got a meeting with the Fuhrer. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Martin Bormann was thumbing through his documents eagerly, hunting for the tiniest of mistakes, when a door swung open. The Fuhrer shuffled in the room, muttering to himself. His fleshy, shallow face was scrunched in confusion, while his bright blue eyes drifted around the room aimlessly. Hitler didn't have blue eyes, right? Like, he has brown eyes. Did he have, like, blue eye surgery, or is he wearing, like, contact lenses? Anyways, as they settled on his successor, Hitler stroked the matted flop of hair resting on his clammy forehead and nodded forwards. Hi, Hitler! Bormann rose in salute and gestured politely to the armchairs. The Fuhrer coughed onto the back of his trembling hand and slowly placed himself down. You look healthy, my Fuhrer, despite the heinous attack on your life mere weeks ago. Bormann pulled out the first document and cleared his throat. My Fuhrer, I believe the Reich can only maintain its strength and stability by making a few directional adjustments in order to confront the preservation of National Socialism proposed by Speer and Göring. That's corrupt parvenu, Hitler suddenly spat, his face contorting to anger. Hermann, Albert, they want everything. They don't realize they cannot die. The Fuhrer glared at his secretary with feverish eyes. Hitler is Germany and Germany is Hitler. If I die, the Jews will descend upon our carcasses like vultures. An eruption of rasping coughs exploded from his throat, racking his whole body. He clasped his armrest intensely, his face growing redder by the second. Tick-tock, tick-tock. The door suddenly burst open, and a cluster of the Fuhrer's personal guard streamed into the room. Roka Schminst held onto the Fuhrer's arm and pulled him out from his seat, glancing at Bormann with an inscrutable expression. Before Bormann could say anything, the Fuhrer had taken away. His bemused silence was punctuated only by the incessant ticking of the clock. Tick-tock. But I think with that, it's only a good time for us to end off this episode. So if you enjoyed, thumbs up. Not enjoy, click thumbs down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.